Here, about 24 hours, depending on when you listen to this. This is meant to be going out Saturday morning, so around 24 hours until kick-off on Sunday when Celtic are the visitors at Tynecastle Park. Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Cairns for the second pre-Celtic preview video. We are going to delve into the styles of the two sides and some key battles that could present themselves on Sunday. This video is kind of in conjunction with something that Craig has written on this site, which you can read if you go to crosstoheartstandard.co.uk or if you go down to the description where we have linked it below. Before we get into it and I ask Craig how he's doing, even though we've had this conversation off air, Heart Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. Craig, I know you're fine. We've had that conversation, but we both watched. I watched some of it. You watched it last night, the Celtic game. They had a number of injuries. How seeing that and seeing how that unfolded last night, and then the news about Cameron Carter-Vickers on Friday, where he's been ruled out for 3 to 5 months. How are you feeling about Sunday? Where's your confidence level?
Been strangely confident. I mean, I know that I'm not stupid enough not to realise that you can perform well in a game and still not win it. And I'm confident that this Hearts team will perform well, or there'll be certain baselines that are met as a minimum. And then beyond that, you're not always going to get it your own way. So I'm confident we'll get at least that. And I think given the form of the teams, the respective availability in the squads, I think Hearts are big favourites for this now, I think. And how they respond to that, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm confident we'll get at least a good performance from Hearts. I think Celtic have got a lot of issues. They're just building up before this game. It was already inconvenience for them that this match has fallen after a European game. Never mind that they've lost 2 players that, I don't know. I mean, you could debate whether Johnston would have started 2 matches in a row after not playing since August, but Iheanacho definitely would have started. So they're and that's on top of the issues they already had. So they could end up playing a couple of their youngsters at the weekend. So it's all set up. I'm not I wouldn't say I don't have as many nerves as I did before the Hibs game or even before the Rangers game, which I have to keep saying every time I mention it. It's just more and more stupid with hindsight, the trepidation we had going into that game.
Yeah, I know. It's should have been going in there expecting to win. Yeah, it's one where I'm looking at Sunday as just pure excitement and the thought and the prospect, the opportunity that's there. You said that Hearts should be strong favourites. They're still, as we record this on Friday evening, strong. They're still 11-5 to win the game. The Celtic game kind of started. I was in the group chatting with my pals, and we were Hearts fans, Hearts group chat with pals, and just talk. I was being very bullish. I was like, Hearts will win the league. And then as the injury situation developed at Celtic, the more I think about it, and this is probably says more about my weak mind than anything else. It's like, oh no, we're going to get beat 3-0 by a patchwork Celtic side, aren't we? But no, you're absolutely spot on about. I think this team, no matter kind of what happens, result-wise or outcome-wise on Sunday, this team will. I think Hearts fans will know that this team will leave everything out there, and whether that's going to be good enough to get a result, we will find out in 24 hours time or so. So, Craig, you have written that piece, as I mentioned. You kind of split into the different parts with like the different looking at the different styles of the team and then the key battles. So I'll start by just looking at asking you about the different styles. What can you tell me about the kind of the big differences between the sides?
Well, both look to dominate and both look to have a lot of tensity out wide and things like that. But how they kind of get to that position can differ. And I suppose the crudest way to look at it, and this is one of the graphics in the piece, is goalkeeper pass distance. I suppose this is a good point as well to say again about the images. For those that do use our app and our website, the images, we are still working on getting these sharpened up.
Yep.
Did have a workaround, which a recent update has meant we can't do anymore. So we are hoping that that comes back soon. But we're going to continue to put them in here when we can and talk about them. And we're going to add them to our WhatsApp channel. So get on that if you aren't in that already, and then look out on social media as well. We'll put them out on there. So the ones that are in the articles, we'll put out clearer versions so you can get access to them as well. And we can only apologize for that. But yes, if you look at this is, I mean, it's easy to look at this and think Hearts are long ball merchants, but it's, like I say, it's a very crude way to look at it. The goalkeeper pass length average, Celtics is the shortest and Hearts is the second longest, only by St Mirren. It's quite minimal, some of the differences between the teams there. But Celtic really like to pass the ball out the back. We've seen Hearts have come up against that. Two very different matches against Falkirk and Motherwell. This is a whole different level. But they do look to pass it out from the back. Goalkeeper gets involved in that. They want their fullbacks to come in the pitch as the kind of play progresses, and then sometimes they'll kind of underlap in the attack, and they like their wingers to stay high and wide. And I suppose so I don't think I'm going overstepping what we're going to talk about later too much, but either side of a number 9, who that number 9 will be, we'll come to talk about later. But they seem to be that seems to be the real sort of danger area at the moment, is the wide men. Tynecastle is, I mean, again last night, very, very good. Looked brilliant, especially for a spell. The second half of the first half, he was very, very good. But he's still not really adding numbers. Like, he's not putting numbers on the board like Kiziridas is, for instance.
Yeah.
And on the other side, Nygren, arguably Celtic's best player of the season, scored a goal on Thursday night, playing as sort of like an inside. He's left-footed, playing as an inside right. I think they bought him to play as one of the number 8s, but or be competition and be one of the many people competing for the number 8 in there. Given the way he's been playing, he's probably been brought in to be a starter. But he's been playing, I think it's kind of been needs must to an extent, but he's been playing on the right, but still being very good. And it's somebody that he's played early in his career as well. It's not like he's alien to that position. So that's definitely a couple. It's not somewhere that I covered for the key battles, but I think that's definitely an area to be wary of Celtic tomorrow.
Speaking of folk that watch Celtic, though I've not watched them too much, but the bits I've seen is that it's still clear they've got very good players. You got Hatate, McGregor, and against Sturm Graz, it was Engels in the midfield. I think Engels had one of his better performances, and they still looked really good build-up wise. And it was getting into that final third where that's where they felt like looked lacking. You talked about Tynecastle not putting up the numbers. Nygren has actually done quite well in terms of goals and assists this season, but they lack a striker, and that's only been hampered further by Iheanacho getting an injury, the doubts over Dykes and Maeda. They are poor recruitment, and it looks like it'll be Johnny Kenny who, at the moment, looks like will be kind of leading the line, when I think he's kind of more viewed by Celtic fans as a squad player.
Mm-hmm. I've brought up there, this is just, again, it's just always Premiership stats and these things. So this is Celtic's goals and where they've been scored from. You can see a lot of them are where a number 9 occupies. They're not all scored by the number 9. Some of them are scored by Nygren, a couple by Maeda, although I think he was playing through the middle. So at least one of them will be from Maeda playing through the middle. But a lot of it seems to go, they seem to finish in that area a lot, is the point I'm making. And they could be severely hamstrung with who they have to play there. I mean, no disrespect at all to Johnny Kenny, but he's 22, he's on the younger side, and he has only made one Premiership start, and that was in the top 6 last season. I think he's made 1 or 2 other starts for Celtic, so he's not got a lot of experience, and this is a hell of a game and a hell of a defence to be going in against.
Yeah.
So that could work in Hearts' favour. That just to go back to the style, I mean, I don't know, I didn't really elaborate on Hearts, but just so I don't get labelled that I'm calling Hearts just long ball merchants. Hearts more pick their times. I'm sure as ever. I'm not really telling people what they don't know, but Hearts more pick their times. They're not afraid to go long. They do sometimes like to tease opponents out and then switch play. They also are a good counter-pressing team this season, so it'll be interesting to see how that is against the passing out from the back that Celtic like to do. And
I think just on that.
No, you're right.
The Hearts have evolved, or not evolved, just changed to a style that is more welcome at Tynecastle, where you go back to the pass lengths of the goalkeeper. I don't want my Hearts goalkeeper playing loads of passes. I don't want Craig Halkett on the ball too much. I don't want Stuart Finlay on the ball too much. Neither of those players want to be on the ball too much. We've seen it enough over the last couple of seasons where you get to the end of the game and I can't remember, there was certainly one where it was like Kai Rolls had about 120 touches and Frankie Kane like 98, like by far the most touches off, and we just don't want that. And I think that's been a really positive development for Hearts. And then you talked about the counter pressing. We've wrote about and spoke about it before, just how aggressive Hearts are, or switched on especially in those moments when we lose the ball, high up the pitch. You've seen it with Kizaridis and Braga and like Shankland covers as usually covers it's like top 3 for the amount of distance he covers in games. Those 3, Harry Milne, the 2 midfielders behind them, loads of guys with energy that look to win the ball back really, really quickly. And that was going to be one of my questions before we get onto the key battles. Is kind of talked about it with Scott. Is do you think that? How do you think Hearts will approach Celtic in their build-up? Do you think they'll allow the centre-backs and the goalkeeper to kind of have it and then only wait until it goes into certain players, whether it's the full-backs or certain midfielders, before hitting?
If I was to make an educated guess, I would say that I can't remember which game I said this about recently, but I think it's going to be Hearts are want to go out and test Celtic's mettle early, I think, and they're just going to be both with the ball and without it. I think, though, I mean, what you're saying there, I mean, it's not just going to be 100 miles an hour and no structure to it. They're going to have certain triggers, and they're going to have certain situations where they're going to want certain people to have the ball in certain areas, and then certain things will happen. There will be a structure to it, but I think it will be get in their faces early on when they've got the ball and get the ball down their throats and get attacking when Hearts have got the ball. I think, to put it simply, that's how Hearts are going to approach at least the early stages of the match. Just before we do move on, one little thing, we did mention Kai Watson last time, and he's put up another one. I don't know if you saw this earlier.
I did, yes.
Joel, I will read out the tweet since it gives it a little bit of context. I look at ball-winning / progressing central midfielders in the Scottish Premiership this season. McEntee has mostly played right back recently, and Silla, that's of Livingston, at centre back. More strong showings from Cammy Devlin, and then he mentions Elliot Watt of Motherwell and Brad Spencer of Falkirk as well. Any surprises on there for you? And yes, so 2 Hearts players showing up very well on both the metrics that he's put here, which are progressive passes per 90 minutes and successful defensive actions per 90 minutes, bearing in mind that McEntee he's performing better than almost anybody on this graph, but he's doing so from right back.
Yeah, so I think that's a big thing with the right back, and because he had one for, I think it was one for centre midfielders And Gogic there was one he had up, and Gogic was in it, and it was like Gogic is obviously a centre back, and I think it's easier to play more progressive passes when you've got the whole game in front of you.
Yeah.
But in terms of the defensive actions, not surprised with McEntee, but I think you'd probably see a kind of similar if he did play in the centre midfield. He's that type of player. Cammy Devlin kind of backs up what I've seen in that. Someone asked last couple of weeks ago about Cammy Devlin. I kind of looked at it, and while there's not been a massive increase, he is definitely passing the ball forward more and taking a wee bit more risk. So yeah, that's kind of positive graph. Seen Macaulay Tate in the middle there as well, which is good. Speaking of Cammy Devlin, we'll move on to the very first key battle, and this is the one that's probably the most, I think, perhaps the most important. Mentioned it on the other show, whereas I just felt that you stop Callum McGregor, you stop Celtic, and I don't think it's any surprise that Celtic haven't been at their best this season because Callum McGregor. I think he's not been at his best. You picked out a key battle that he's involved in. However, you were going to do it for Lawrence Shankland, but you've changed to Cammy Devlin.
I did, yeah. So there's going to be, I think there's going to be, assuming the teams line up how we expect them to line up, I think there will be points in the match where Shankland's definitely dropping in either to help out the midfield or maybe sometimes to pick up McGregor. But I think if Hearts get to play the way they want to play and how we've seen them press teams successfully this season, then I think there will also be points when Shankland and Braga will be on the two centre backs, and then Devlin has been the most likely of the two central midfielders to then come up and press either the opposition's number 6 or the deepest of the 6, if there are two of them. So that's why I kind of changed my mind at the last minute to say that it was Devlin against McGregor. And the fact that Devlin's just been in such good form this season as well.
I think that's a really good shout, and it goes back to, well, not a great example. When looking forward to head to Celtic, but when you're looking at the Motherwell game, Devlin was really high, and when we're trying to press Motherwell higher up the pitch, and it was often Devlin, like you said, moving further up. But I also think it goes into the trust element as well. Is that McInnes really trusts Cammy Devlin? He's raved about him since coming in the door, and I do think that Devlin is probably the best place to engage Callum McGregor in certain moments, and it does. It's almost like there's a chance. You mentioned Shankland, that it could be like a vice. With basically Shankland coming from one side, Devlin from the other, where you could press Callum McGregor from two different, put him under a lot of pressure from different avenues or different directions. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. And just to explain what's going on in the graph here, the radar that we've put up, Devlin's in the red, McGregor's in the blue. It picks out some metrics that are related to central midfielders, and you can see Devlin, very good things like interceptions, tackles, regaining the ball through pressures, and then even though it's not as good as McGregor's, his passing percentage is very good this season. And then McGregor, you can see, is better at things like deep progressions, which I think is progressing the ball is it in the final third, the opposition? The final third, and so. Then he's got better like XG build up, which just means I think he's passing still a lot more defense splitting and the like of than Devlin's.
What about, so you picked out 3 key battles? Tell me about a second one.
So the other ones were a little bit up in the air. Yeah. So we'll go for obvious one from a Hearts point of view, and that's whoever Alexandros Kiziridis is going to be up against, because it could have easily picked Braga, because since I sort of started writing this, Cameron Carter-Vickers has been ruled out for a number of months, so he's not going to make the game. So it'll be Liam Scales, and I don't know, from what I can guess, Dane Murray, potentially another younger Celtic player. So Braga's very much going to be key to the game as well. I think the form he is in, but you just can't ignore Kizaridis and how he's been playing, and the fact that Alistair Johnston, as I said earlier, the fact that he had started on Thursday probably meant that he wasn't going to start on Sunday as well. But the fact that he's injured even takes that debate away. And whereas people thought maybe at that point Brendan Rodgers would have called for Tony Ralston, instead he has brought on Kobe Donovan, who I watched at the recent, I think he came off at half time though. Not because they were 6-0 up. It wasn't anything to do with performance. He was one of the best players on the pitch. But at the recent Scotland under-21 game when I went to watch James Wilson.
Oh yeah.
So he came on instead. So it looks like it's going to be him. He has looked good. He looked good when he came on Thursday. He looked good in that Scotland under-21 game. And there's been a couple other games earlier in the season. I think he was on the verge of a loan move until Alistair Johnston's injury, actually, to another Premiership team. So he is a very capable player, but again, inexperienced. And there could be a scenario where Celtic end up playing Dane Murray at centre-back, Kobe Donaldson at right-back, and Johnny Kenny up front. There's other things that could happen. Maida's a doubt, so he could come in if he's fit up front. He could go with a more experienced option out of position. He could, I don't know, Tierney. He's got Tierney that didn't start on Thursday. He could potentially play at centre-back as well, but then that's two left footers of him and Scales. I don't know. I don't know enough about Celtic, and these things have just been sprung on Rodgers, so I'm not entirely sure if Rodgers knows what he's going to do yet either.
But it's definitely, I think the right back, Kizaridis against whoever's right back is an obvious. It was like I think even if Johnson was fit, you would have still wrote that, because in Johnson you've got someone who can go forward as well and has an impact in the attacking sense for Celtic. But it's even more kind of pressing that Celtic are potentially going to play this teenager in a environment that Tynecastle is going to be against one of the most informed attacking midfielders, wingers in the league. So yeah, that's certainly something that we should keep an eye on. And you wonder if he does start there, it's a case of when Hearts do have the ball, it's like, as has been the case quite often, get it out to Kizaridis, get it to the left, Braga moving into that space in behind him, or kind of doubling up on him. And then you wrote about it on the game on against Kilmarnock, where Stephen Kingsley was being supporting, and a lot of you looked at the passing network, and a lot of it was focused on that left-hand side. So that is definitely going to be an area to keep an eye on. What about the third one? I'm right in saying that it's basically whoever plays up front against Craig Halkett and Stuart Finlay, i.e. Johnny Kenny.
Yeah, exactly. Iheanacho probably, it was going to be Iheanacho versus Halkett. Yeah. It was one of the ones that I was just kind of sure about, because I think even regardless with how Iheanacho arrived at Celtic, I think he's proved since he's come in that he's quite a handy player. He's quite capable. And I think him, with all his experience going up against one of the, if not the form centre-back in the Premiership, I thought that was a very easy one. But then it became a very different battle, because now it could either be Dyson Maeda, who, again, would be a very, very capable opponent for Craig Halkett, but I'm not entirely sure where he's at the moment. I'm not sure there was an update today. He didn't train for a couple of days with what was, I think, reported to be a hamstring issue. Wasn't involved at all in their game on Thursday. So I'm not sure if that was to keep him ready for Sunday, or whether that means he's a doubt or out for Sunday. Who knows? So either it's going to be that kind of test for Halkett, or it's going to be a bit more of an unknown and a more of an inexperienced package in Johnny Kenny, who had a good chance not long after came on, which he created for himself on Thursday, but he wasn't heavily involved in the game after that, I didn't think. So yeah, it's just someone that I don't feel I know enough about to comment on, but it could be. I suppose the point I was making is for a team that hasn't scored in half of the last 12 matches that they've played, that's going to be a crucial area for them to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're coming up against a team that's not conceded in their last 4 matches, a team that's really robust. And I'm just literally writing up just now because we spoke to Stuart Finlay the other day, and those quotes will be going out tonight/tomorrow morning. And there's a real nice balance to the defence, especially with that Halkett-Finlay partnership. So as Hearts fans, you go into that and feeling confident from that side of things. And there's not a player in the Celtic front line in the past like Larsson or Kyogo who you just like, yeah, they just really enjoy playing and scoring against Hearts. Thankfully, there's not anyone in there.
Just related to both what I was saying and what you were saying, Stuart Findlay, you mentioned, and in the Craig Halkett battle section, I also mentioned the flip side is that Celtic are now without Cameron Carter-Vickers to defend set pieces as well, and Halkett and Findlay have shown that they're a nuisance in the box from them. And you can see here, again, this is only Premiership. Hearts have 6 goals from set pieces. Next is Dundee United with 4, and Celtic have yet to score from a set piece. And this doesn't include ones from second phase, which I couldn't tell you how many Celtic have. I know that Hearts have at least a couple more. And then I looked up the set piece goals conceded as well, and it's 2 each that they have, so they're even on that. So Hearts have the edge when it comes to set pieces also. Which I think they'll do. I think you could say that without. That's probably a given going into most games, if not every game this season.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one where I do like watching Celtic the last couple of games. They do look vulnerable from crosses in the box from set pieces. So that's something that's another tick in the box of being really encouraging.
Mm-hmm. They did score from one on Thursday, which I did mention in the piece. Yes. Which doesn't say there, which doesn't show up in that graph, obviously.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Craig, before we wrap it up?
Bring it on. Bring it on. maybe more nervous now that I've put all this out there, but. No, I'm really looking forward to it. Forward to it. There was a Scars Around the Funnel thing that went out earlier. I don't think I quite got to the end of the podcast earlier in the week. I mean, I don't think I quite got to the end of the podcast, so I didn't get to all the answers, but it was asking about the most excited you've ever been for a match. Yeah. And the one that I saw your answer, but the one that came to mind for me was the New Year game, the 2006 New Year game, and the excitement going into that. I don't want to think too much about it, but I was really excited going into that. And the first half is some of the best I've ever seen Hearts play. I don't think I've left a game more despondent than I did leaving that game. But it was some of the highest I've ever been watching Hearts at that match as well. I remember I was in trying to think how old I was at the time. 17? I would have been 17 at the time. No, I would have been 16 at the time. I was in Robbles before the game. Wow. And then the performance was the first half performance was incredible. Callum Elliott was unreal, and then that decision by Ian MF and Brines and Stephen McManus and Stephen Pearson. Jesus, that's just despondent, absolutely despondent. Yeah. I wasn't going to focus on that bit, but yeah, the excitement going in, the levels are definitely similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we can have 2 minutes like that, first 45 minutes back in 2006, then it might
Exactly, aye.
that's what we're looking for.
Yes.
We will leave it there, Craig. Thank you very much. Thanks very much for that insight and breakdown. We will be back on Sunday after the game. We are, as Craig said, very much looking forward to the game coming around on Sunday. Be sure to check out Craig's piece on the site for even more depth and detail. Loads of stuff on heartstandard.co.uk. There's also the preview video we did with Scott as well. So loads to get your teeth into if you're just trying to will the time away until 12 p.m. on Sunday. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Sunday, and we will be back. We'll be back Sunday, some point. Goodbye.